Hey, what's up, everyone? This is BTC Jack Sparrow. I'm here with Don today, and you're watching Don and Jack live. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Happy Friday. I'm looking forward to this weekend. Can't complain, man. This week's been kind of mixed. It's been a mix of emotions to say the least, but can't complain, man. How about yourself? How's everything going with you?
I'm doing good. Been some volatile price action. I missed that short that Cheese played for like 13,700.
Yeah,
That was a shame. That was a pity. I'm still hoping we're going to see some positive price action on ETH/BTC, although it's starting to look less and less bouncy. It's going to be important for that thing to start moving, because the slower it starts creeping to that support level, it's going to be the fourth time it's going to touch it. It doesn't seem too promising. Other than that, summer is in full swing. So I've been trying to get some sunshine in as well. It's been really, really hot here. It was like 96 degrees Fahrenheit last week.
wow, that's hot.
Like it was impossible to work with that. I really had to go outside and sit at the water and jump in the water every 5 minutes, basically, to keep my head cool. Yeah. What about you?
That's starting to get nice here in Chicago. I'm starting to get that 80 degree weather, 90-degree weather, which is good. It's a good sign. Probably get out here soon, but I honestly, these past few weeks I've been inside trading. I've with this validity, I've been trying to stay on my computer and stay afloat, and just kind of gauge a better idea. This is, you don't get these bull runs that often, so being a part of them and trading them is good, and kind of getting that experience under my belt is also another. It's also good as well. So I can't complain. I'm looking forward to the few weeks to come. Nonetheless, just trying to stay healthy and stay working out.
Good stuff. Hey, so the big question is here. Bitcoin is going parabolic. What should we be looking at to assess whether the parabola is broken or not? I think that's the most important question. I think the other question is, if it doesn't get broken, where are we heading? So let's try and answer those two questions today. And
Okay.
there's one alt in specifically that I do think we should give some attention to. It's Litecoin. Litecoin basically sold off 50% from its high that it printed earlier, and it kind of looks like an ABC correction pattern after an Elliott like 5 impulse moves. So it's, I don't know, like it does look like a place where I would normally long it.
Right.
Let's have a look at that chart. I have a chart on that. Maybe
Yeah.
you have an opinion on that too.
Yeah.
And
We can for sure go over that. I want to go over it too. Also, I want to go over one alt that I think personally is the best looking alt in the space right now, and it didn't really have any. This bull market really didn't have any effect to it, and it actually went up with Bitcoin. So, and that's Link. I'm going to go over that. Kind of a high time frame view as well as some low time frame. What I'm looking at to make an entry and a high time frame play, because I believe Link just got added to Coinbase, so it's something that we should keep our eyes on. And yeah, just structure wise, it looks amazing. So do you want to go ahead and start us off with Bitcoin, Litecoin? What do you want to jump into first?
Let's jump into a little bit of low time frame Bitcoin. I have a chart ready for that, and then what I want to do is zoom out and compare the current parabola with the parabola from like $200 something to 20K. See how that worked out. I have two charts that I also posted them on Twitter, but maybe it's nice for me just to walk through them live. Let's see. Give me one sec. All right, let me share my screen. All right. So if your question is whether Bitcoin is bearish or bullish, the answer is that it's not bearish yet. We don't have to look at parabolas or anything. We can just look at simple horizontal price action. If we zoom out to the 15-minute on this chart, we can see there was a slight consolidation right here that offered support around like the 11,870 area. It kind of like traded through it, but never really closed below it, traded back above it, and then kind of lost it. And now it's trading back at it again. So basically it's a bearish breaker that's providing resistance. But if we do break upwards, we're gonna go, we're gonna go back up into the higher ranges of this entire range here. If we zoom out to the 4-hour, so now you kind of know where that orange block comes from, we can see that we had this consolidation right here. And the reason why I'm saying we're still not bearish and we're still bullish is the fact that during this sell-off, which was a pretty severe sell-off, like it was a strong sell-off. I think the speed at which it happened was way faster than the speed that took us up here. So definitely, generally, that's a bearish sign, or at least gives you an idea that price is accelerating downwards instead of upwards. But it never closed below like the equilibrium / the lows, the closes here, the body closes of this consolidation. So that's bullish, and that was the reason why we were bullish around 10,300-ish levels as we like kind of swept this wick low here. And if you look at that on the 1-hour, it's pretty clean. On this entire sell-off, there was actually not a single moment where we swept the low and reclaimed it. Usually when you sweep a low and reclaim it, you kind of can expect that depending on where it happens in a chart, you kind of know that such a move is only done to actually wipe the stops that are sitting there and to grab that liquidity. So if big money does these kind of moves and it happens around a support level, it oftentimes is a signal that we're going to trade higher and not necessarily make new highs, but at least they grab liquidity there. So they're going to try, the market is going to go up because that's where they're going to push it. That's where they're going to like try and go and take profit on engineering that liquidity right here. So keep that in mind, guys. This is something you want to see. And if this happens like just after you make a top and you start your sell-off, it's not that interesting. But when it gets interesting is like you have 1 move down, 2 move down, arguably 3 moves down, and then you're at a level of support. That's where you want to start pay attention. Like you sweep this low right here and you sweep this low, and that's a lot of stops taken out.
I mean, yeah, it swept that. Could you point all the way that low to all the way to the left? That one right there, yeah, it literally swept that low, and then you saw upside from there. And what that was, noticed?
It actually didn't sweep this low. Like this low is at 11,300, and
it did.
And this
11,000. Go see that low. It did sweep that low.
No, it was
11,000 equal lows.
Equal lows, like to the dollar.
Yeah.
Lows. But like that must have meant there was a lot of liquidity just resting there, anyways. So I mean, if we zoom out to the 4-hour, there's a few possibilities based off this, where I think, like either from here, you're going to get rejected off this orange box here that we identified of the 15-minute, which has been like support resistance, but it's becoming like a bit of an ugly level because we've been going through up and down it, and it's not as clean anymore as it was previously. But if we continue to trade upwards, like a retrace to like the start of this last 4-hour up candle, that was kind of like our blow off top. If that would make sense. And if it does get rejected there, I do think that we're going to trade towards the mid 9K range or maybe even lower. But if it does reclaim it, I think and starts to consolidate right here, I think there's a good possibility that we go higher. So there's this. Let me zoom out to the daily time frame and show you guys what I'm looking at in terms of the parabola. So this is our current parabola. We started at 3K, and then like it's going up, and I kind of like to measure parabolas in terms of like levels of acceleration. So this was the first acceleration, this trend line here, second acceleration, third acceleration, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then the seventh is not actually visible on the daily. Yeah, we'll have to zoom in on like the 4 hour, the 8 hour, just to give you a comparison. And just believe me that this is how it always looks like. I've studied quite a few parabolas, but just to grab like the 20K parabola from Bitcoin, you can see one acceleration, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. The seventh is arguably not really visible on the 3-day time frame either. And you like once you start breaking the sixth, and then you start trading towards the fifth, and you get rejected and you trade below the curve of the parabola as well, it's time to start paying attention to what happens. And back in 2017, we sold off to the 0.436 Fibonacci level. We haven't traded that low yet. And I'm not saying that it has to, but we didn't even reach the 0.38 yet. However, we did trade below the curve, which I will show you in a little bit. So what I'm trying to explain here is that what really matters, and maybe I should show it to you on the daily time frame. What really matters is that we see a couple of things. We want to see a breakdown of the curve. We want to see a breakdown of the accelerations, and we want to see some rejection as well. So right here, we're trading through the fifth, and right here, we're trading through the sixth. At that point, what you want to start doing is you want to start looking at levels of retracement. So here it got rejected by the 0.705. It could trade all the way to the 786. It could get rejected at 618. But generally, you don't want to trade through this level and close above this range between the 618 and the 786, right? The moment you see that, that's where you got to start to get worried, because, and now I got to zoom out a little bit again, parabolas have a tendency to really retrace large portions of their entire move. Like this parabola almost retraced 85%. The last one, the huge last one we saw was on I think TRX. TRX like crashed way more than 80%. We can identify one on Litecoin as well, which has retraced 78% now too. So it's very common for these things to retrace a lot. And I got questions earlier. People said like 80%, that's going to put us at 2K. Now, what I'm trying to say is 80% off the parabolic move. So relative to the parabolic move. So for that, you use the Fibonacci levels to kind of figure out where your targets might be. If we're going to break the parabola, you know, like you can see here, we broke the sixth acceleration and we're kind of like getting rejected around the retest of it. It's not clean. And, you know, I don't like to trade diagonals because they don't give you a level to trade off, you know, like, but they give you an idea of change in trends. So in this specific case, what we want to be on the lookout for is what happens when we trade to this red box right here. We have the diagonal going through it. We have our like 62 to 80% retrace level of this level. If we see rejection there and we break once again below this curve and we trade back to the fifth acceleration again, I do think that we're going to see the parabolic advance break. And I would say that breaking the fifth and retesting, rejecting the fifth acceleration is really your confirmation that it's going to happen. And if we then zoom out to the 3-day, 62% retrace levels all the way to 7K, and potentially, you know, if you're going to retrace anything similar as the fractal we saw from the Bitcoin 20K top, we're going to trade back to like 5.5 or 4.8. If we don't, that's the good, there's the juicy part. Like if we don't get rejected, if we don't break it, if we continue upwards, we're gonna see like an even steeper acceleration happening here. So I would even say that 20K is within reach within 2-3 weeks if we don't break it. Like I'm not kidding. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, I have a similar stance as well from a high time frame perspective. If we do hold up, I think there's definitely a high probability that we do see all time highs before end of year. That's my opinion. There's still a lot of criteria in terms of what needs to play out for that to actually confirm that we're going towards new highs. Are you still sharing your screen?
I am,
But
for sure.
I
What do
think
you want me to show?
no, you got it. I was going to show my screen, but no, that 12,800, that 705, and between that 705, 786, that 618 as well. That's all crucial levels. If we do get rejected there, we could go ahead and trade lower. I do want to show you guys one from a weekly perspective, what I'm looking at. 1 second.
I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay. There's a few things that I want to show you guys. I'm going to show you guys, and I'm not going to show you too much intraday. I'm going to show just a real high time frame analysis that's really, I think going to be effective for us moving forward. And especially if you want to be profitable in the next few months and the next few years, I think you need to begin to look at the macro trend. If you're trading with the macro trend, you will be in the money. So I want you guys to know that. So if you're trading high time frame, you're going to be in it. Just look at it and let's find out where we're headed, right? Okay. So recently we just got rejected off our yearly open. That's a clear yearly open. Our yearly opens at 13,873. That's a clean move off of that and rejection, right? A few things that I want to note from this move. We took out lows. We just recently took out highs. On this weekly, I'm looking for a weekly close above our weekly range that we began to trade within again. If we can get it above 11,771, that's bullish. Right now, we're seeing a potential weekly swing failure. We drove into supply and we're trading now back below range high. Okay. So what are we trading around? We're trading around this monthly order block equilibrium. Okay. That monthly order block equilibrium it's simple. It's just this guy that used the open and the high on the monthly, the last up candle before the big down move to 3K. You find the high of that and the open, you get a monthly equilibrium of 10,951. Okay. So from a monthly perspective, we're looking for a monthly close above 10,951. Nonetheless, if we get a weekly close, 1 second. If we get a weekly close below range high, there's very much a possibility we retest range high and we go test, in this 8K range. That's going to present a buying opportunity in my eyes, right? From a monthly scale, if we close above 10,951, that's extremely bullish, guys. Even despite our current downside on our weekly trend, that's still bullish. The monthly is going to close extremely bullish, and I'm looking to be a buyer in this region, right? And I know Jack has kind of a different view. If we get down there, he thinks we're a little bit. It's a buying opportunity, but it could turn bearish really quickly. And I'm not disagreeing, but there's a large weekly order block right here that we developed, fresh weekly demand that rests slightly below our range equilibrium, right? At a range equilibrium is 8813. I'll be a buyer there, okay? And I'm targeting way higher prices. I'm targeting 15,000 as well as liquidity high, all-time highs, okay? So it's really something that we need to keep our eyes on in the coming weeks and the month-end close in this upcoming month. If we do see some downside here, it's going to present a very, very solid buying opportunity. And I'm looking to target way higher prices, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we're headed. Maybe not straightly there, but there's some criteria that needs to be met for that to happen, right? So most importantly, I'm looking for a close above 11,771. If we don't, I think we're going to go test some lower demand before we do end up trading higher. Yesterday was an extremely hard sell-off. I don't think it's anything to be scared of. I mean, we've been in a complete uptrend for several months, for 3 months straight now. So everyone gets scared really, really, really quickly. Oh, we're gonna go down as fast as we went up. Let's take a step back and let's look at the monthly trend, and it's up, guys. So just no reason to panic, no reason to really just sell your bags just yet. And I think we're headed for higher prices, guys. Just be patient and look to be a continuous buyer in the 9K range. I know, Jack, you got something to add to that specifically? Anything?
Well, I need to grab a chart to kind of explain why I do think that if we trade to the low 9Ks, that bulls are screwed, at least for the time being. Like, I definitely agree that the higher time frame trend is bullish, but you just can't ignore the fact that at that point we're definitely broken the parabola.
Would you consider that broken the parabola though? If we trade
Sure.
back to 88.13.
Yeah, but let me show you why. So let's first grab that parabolic chart, okay? So 88, what level did you say?
88.13 to be
Okay.
exact. Like, that would be the equilibrium where I'd look to be a buyer, and 88 and 9K region where I would look to be a high time frame buyer. Like, there's still obviously some criteria that needs to be met if we get in that range. That needs to hold up. If it doesn't hold up, we're going to more than likely go tackle 6,000.
Right, so a few things on a daily time frame. Looking at the parabola, if we trade to 88.13 and it's within, let's say
88.13 and 9K. That's my range.
Yeah. So let's say, let's say you trade there within the next 2 weeks. All right. That means
Yeah.
you definitely break the fourth acceleration. And to me, when you break the fifth acceleration and you get rejected by it, it's more or less like an 85% confirmed breakdown of a parabola. Also, what you kind of do if you trade all the way there, you also break, you also trade below the consolidation that took you to your high.
Right.
That's only like a daily structure, but I think it's an important structure to keep in mind because it's literally the same structure that I was showing you guys right here on a 50-minute chart. Like, once you start trading under it, you're oftentimes, like when you close below it, you're in trouble. It becomes a resistance, and you might trade back into it, but at first you're going to sell off. So that's, oops, here we go. So that's the first thing. And then if we just look at the same weekly chart that you were looking at, there's this one pattern that I've seen play out time and time again. If you have a giant consolidation that then eventually has a large expansion, so basically this is your expansion level right here. On Bitstamp, yes, we retested that on our way up, but it's not a clear pivot on the weekly, right? It's just a wick, but it was never a lower low. And on Finex, we never went below 7,000, so it never got retested. You always come back at a certain point to retest it. So even if we go to 20K, which is possible, I think it's fairly certain that you're going to try and come down and retest those liquidity levels. It's very rare for that not to happen. And like, once you start trading to, like, let's assume you trade to 9K or 10K this week, next week, you're like engulfing 3 white soldiers with like an inverted hammer right here. It's after rejection of your highest or second to highest like liquidity block right here. It makes sense to trade lower, and it kind of looks this like 100% similar to how Litecoin traded up, then got rejected after a bounce, and then started to trade all the way to the 786 retrace level, which if I reverse this, no, I need to grab a different one. No, which would sit at like 5.4K. And at that point, that if you're long at 9K, I do think that we should long 9K because there's going to be a big bounce. But I think once you get there, I think you break your parabolic advance, and you still have like from 9K, you could still trade to 12 or 13. So that's a huge trade. But I would head short definitely once we trade back into those levels. Let's grab like so this is
Litecoin.
Litecoin, and Litecoin actually did not go parabolic on the logarithmic chart, but you know, going in a straight line by itself is actually already a kind of how we say parabolic move. So you like consolidation, you break out, consolidate, break out, consolidate, last move up, which is like an extended fifth wave, and then you trade back down ABC, which I mean potentially is very possible for Bitcoin too. So this is why I wanted to look at Litecoin. Litecoin is back at the levels where it started to do this entire move up to like 19k sats or 19.019. As you can see, it bounced off the 786 again here, kind of like clockwork. And what you gotta notice is that this move down is exactly the same length as this move down. So it's at a critical spot for a reversal, or it's going to break down. But then I do think that we're going to see lower lows, like we're going to trade below this.
Right. Yeah. Those other lows. Personally, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's the finest trade. I think Litecoin BTC is due for some downside. I think it's really tough to say. I could be completely wrong.
We just like, if there's a level to trade off, it's here. So like, even if you don't like it, I think you have to.
The risk reward is there.
The risk reward is there. You know, like I would be surprised if we bounce if it doesn't at least retrace 50% of this move, which puts you at, let's say, like 0.013 and a half, which is, well, from here it's 35%. But if this is ABC and you're going to start at like a new impulse wave 5 move, that's, you know, you're going to trade to I don't know, you might trade back up to this entire range here. I'm not too sure about it, but I think I'm going to take a little gamble on it, because literally all you got to do is, you know, like your stop loss, let's say it sweeps back down to 9.6 and you trade it to at least the 13.6 level here, you could put your stop loss all the way up here and still have like a great risk reward. Like it's a decent trade. I have to look at it more. Maybe you can change my mind. Maybe it's a bad trade. I don't know.
Yeah. I personally, yeah, it could turn out well, but for me, I think this is ready for some. I think we're going to continue downward, in my opinion. One thing, I can show you something that I have. Let's see.
10x Nino, why do you want me to chart it on Poloniex? Is there any specific reason why you want me to chart it on Poloniex? Poloniex, how do you?
I'm gonna share my screen real quick. This is what I mean. I personally think for Litecoin, Bitcoin, LTC BTC. Wow, tongue twister there. Okay, so what we recently just saw, in my opinion, okay, there's first of all, most importantly, we just got rejected off the monthly. Okay, so this downside is expected. We created a range high and we created a range low. Notice range low hasn't been taken out yet. Okay, we got kind of down there, low hasn't been taken. Currently, we just got rejected off our monthly order block, okay? 2 times, not just once, but twice, okay? If you find the equilibrium of this monthly block, it's clear rejection, okay? If you find the equilibrium is not 18601. So this is why this is a monthly order block. This is an up move before this down move that took us to lows, okay? So this is, as we trade up from a monthly perspective, this is going to cause resistance. And we took from in our trade channel, we took a trade that went from this low and back into this resistance, and we closed our trade in monthly resistance as expected. And then the downside ensued. Okay, so in my opinion, this is due for you know, at the very least, a move down here. Okay. And what I'm seeing from a lower time frame, okay, it's matching up to a higher time frame. So my high time frame direction is, I believe we're coming down because we just got rejected off monthly resistance. We have to come back down and test some monthly support, okay? And our monthly support rests in this monthly order block. This is the block, this down move before it got us to monthly resistance. So this is going to cause, this is now demand, some fresh demand that's untouched, and some lower time frame from the weekly perspective that supports this argument. Is there's a weekly breaker right here, right? It's a clean weekly breaker, has an equilibrium of 10,213. Okay, we're currently, I'm looking for a weekly close above it to even signal the slightest bit of strength. Okay, and that's come Sunday. We got 3 more days on the 3-day, using that same equilibrium from the 3-day breaker. We actually closed below it. We closed below. We back tested it. Currently getting rejected. If you look on the daily, we're fighting with that equilibrium still on that weekly breaker. Okay. And I think we're going to get a weekly close below. This is what I personally think that's going to happen. We're going to get a weekly close below. Okay, we're going to back test here,
bro.
Okay?
But I don't agree that your bullish breaker is where you've drawn it. Your bullish breaker is at those wicks. Your bullish breaker is at those wicks. No. Before you broke upwards, you have 2 wicks.
In my opinion, that's not this is a bullish breaker. This is a bearish breaker. I apologize. Because the criteria for this to be a bullish breaker, a bearish breaker, apologize, is we actually didn't test it. Look at these 2 wicks. We didn't test the equilibrium. All we got was this candle that busted right through that.
I'm just saying that those 2 wicks you just pointed out are a bullish breaker. So they're
right.
They broke upwards, and now we're closing above those wicks. So technically, I think that's the level I want to see us.
Well,
hold.
I'm not. I slightly agree, but disagree as well, because these wicks, I don't consider them, you know, entirely. This is the real resistance right here. This is what we busted through. This is what price didn't even. This thing didn't. It disregarded the resistance here. Completely disregarded it. We completely broke through on the weekly. Didn't even use it as resistance. Okay, so anytime a breaker, you see that type of move, and we move up on the way down, this is going to cause support now. Okay, because that's just the criteria of how breakers work. Okay, and that's what we're seeing right now. And now I'm patiently waiting to see this weekly breaker, if we close the current weekly close above that equilibrium. If so, that signals slight bit of strength. And the only way I would play it is if we get a close and we start to trade above here, and I'd buy the back test and go higher. That's all I think is the safest play in terms of, you know, how to play BTC here. For me personally, how I think this is going to close, I think we're going to close out below this equilibrium. We're going to back test, and we're going to go trade lower to monthly support. Okay, and quite even possibly take out these lows, trade a lower, you know, buy the back test, and then we go trade higher. Okay, so that's for me. I'm sitting sideline on this trade. I think we need to see more price action to actually find you know, a bullish perspective. For me, we need more confirmation to even make an entry, in my opinion. What do you think, Jack?
I think we have a conflict of definitions here. No, conflict of definitions.
Definitions?
Yeah, because I think my definition of a bullish or a bearish breaker is different. Looks like you're saying that consolidation, breaking it, was our bullish breaker, and in my definition, I see a resistance which happens to be on that weekly block right there. But that weekly block to me is not that impressive, simply because there's not really a clearly defined swing high on it. It's just a continuation block right there. But then we had 3 wicks that definitely were acting as resistance. So I would say that weekly close before we then broke out, and those wicks, that's kind of the level I'm looking at as a bullish order block, and we're closing above it. We're even closing above the wicks. So
well, let's see how it plays out the next few days.
Yeah, let's
See how it plays out.
circle back on that like next week.
Yeah.
I think we're
I could go over what were you gonna say? Sorry about that.
well, I have like 3 minutes left before I have to run.
Okay,
It's dinner time for me.
that's fine.
So
That's fine. We could. So real quick, I'll just go over Link, since Link is actually it's printing what I'm like been looking for a little while now. We actually just got a nice little down move right here, real quick, and then I'll finish up here, Jack, and I'll let you go. Something very interesting. I'm looking for. This is more of like a high time frame play. Okay, so clear uptrend in terms of a weekly and monthly perspective on Link here, guys. Recently just got added to Coinbase. Real quick, from a lower time frame perspective, this is what I'm looking for. Okay, and I think we're about to get it here shortly. Okay, so if we can get a 4-hour close above this EQ, above EQ at 20, 40, 40, 35, like a nice close, I'm looking to be a buyer at the back test, okay, of EQ. And I'm targeting a range high at the very least, which is a range high is 23K sats. I'm targeting a liquidity high, and I'm targeting our 618. Okay. I really, really like Link as a project. I like it as a setup currently. We're in a complete monthly uptrend. This is one of the only alts that have looked like the way it does. Oh, that was bad. Let's delete that. So keep in mind, yeah, I'm looking for a 4-hour close above. Get a back. If I get the back test, I'll be a buyer in the back test, targeting higher prices. So that's what I just wanted to finish on Link. Give you guys kind of my setup in terms of what I'm looking at. Just real quick, last but not least, since this new order block creation right here, there's a new 4-hour block that we just generated. If you find the equilibrium of that order block, it's 19,195, 19,195. You could even put it a little bit in between. Okay. I'm going to be a buyer at EQ 24,035, and I'm targeting, liquidity highs, range high, and as well as 618, right? So I think this presents a nice risk reward from a high time frame perspective, and just waiting for that, patiently waiting for a 4-hour close above EQ. Nonetheless, that's what I'm looking for on Link, and we could finish there. Sorry, that was quick.
no worries. All right. Yeah, we're streaming a bit later today than usual, and I really got to get some food in my belly. So I'm sorry for cutting short, although we've been live streaming for 38 minutes. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for being here, Don.
Yep.
And we'll catch you guys next week.
All right. Take care, guys.